Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon, Brandon Wound Pickups.
Hey everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are very, very happy that you have chosen to spend your time sitting squarely in between Jared and Tony.
That's right. Welcome.
Sweating it out between those two guys.
On an airplane.
Oh, geez. That's the worst thing I can think of right now. Oh, my goodness.
Welcome to the middle seat.
Yep. Middle seat.
No, I just go sit in the bathroom. Or the jump seat. On somebody's lap on the jump seat. That would even be better. But anyways, yeah, hey, so here we are. We're going to talk about awesome guitar stuff. I don't know if you're aware of that on the show, but that's what we do. And we have got a very special guest tonight. Who are you, special guest?
My name is Dave Gill. I run Baltimore Sonic Research Institute, make effects pedals in Baltimore, Maryland.
Woohoo! All right, Baltimore, Maryland, making effects pedals. That sounded like the Saturday Night Live sketch.
Making copies.
Making copies. Making pedals. Dave Aroni. Bringing the fuzz. All right. So we're going to learn all about Baltimore Sonic Research Institute, also AKA BSRI. So you probably see more things that have a little logo that say like BSRI all over it, right?
Yes, that's definitely true.
Where can people go see and hear, not hear because they're listening to us, but as they're listening, where can they check out the pedals and such that you are making?
I'm at BSRI Audio on Instagram, and there's also YouTube demos at BSRI Audio.
Perfect. So take a minute and do that as you're listening along, or the next red light that you get to. Just make sure that you go when it turns green, not on our account. We don't want you getting in an accident or anything. We're going to have a super fun time. We're going to learn all about the things that he's making. He's making some pretty big noise pedals, and they're really well made, doggone it. So very excited to learn more about Dave Gill and his work. Tony Baloney, what in the world do we do on this show besides talk to Dave Gill?
Well, I guess that you put it that way. We like to talk about gear and the makers of gear, specifically boutique gear. And that would include things like guitars and amps and pedals and accessories and, oh my goodness, all sorts of fun things. And we like to get the story behind the story.
That's right.
Yes, indeed. So we're going to have a lot of that tonight. Dave, we're going to have fun, right?
Oh, yeah, we're definitely going to have fun.
Awesome. That's what I
or
want
else.
to hear. Yes. Okay, so we just have an announcement or two real quick, and then we're going to get into what's going on in our music world this week. Starting off with
Road!
There you go. We need to thank Rode Mics for providing the Rodecaster Pro, this beautiful machine sitting on the desk right now, and I'm in our interim studio. It doesn't feel like ours just yet, but it's something. It's something. So, anyways, so Rode provides that, and we're super grateful for that. And they also provide the Procaster mics, which we love and adore.
Yes, we do.
They are lovely.
And I have an articulating arm right here, Tony.
Oh, I am so jealous.
I know.
I am so jealous. I miss my articulating arm.
I know. Well, ever since that whaling accident, I understand. I don't even know.
Never bring that up again.
Hey, I wanted to, actually, speaking of bring up, we have a new patron named Murdoch Swales.
Ooh, I like that name.
Yes,
I like the name.
I believe it's coming out of Birmingham, the UK. I don't know if they say the in front of UK, or if they just say Birmingham, UK. Probably just UK, like university or holiday. They don't use the.
I think they just say uck.
Uck, yes. Clever boy. All right. Anyway, so he sent in just, when people sign up for Patreon, I like to find out a little bit about them, get to know them a little bit. And so in our discussion, he said, I discovered the show during lockdown as I've just recently begun building my own pedals. Awesome. We need one of those like barbells, not a barbell that you get ripped with, but actually you could get ripped with a barbell. Hey, that's clever right there. I'm thinking of the bells behind the bar that they ring when somebody does a big tip.
Stay on task.
Anyways, we need the bell behind the bar when someone, does hey, I'm building something as a result of the show. So he said, I'm recently begun building my own pedals. I'm sure you're all aware of how niche this stuff can be. So it's nice to know I'm not the only gearhead out there. This must be how comic book movie fans felt for the last 15 years. Parentheses, he said as an avid comic book fan also. Parentheses. So he shared what he's kind of currently using right now. And he said, so currently I'm using a few Moore pedals, the double aught 2, as they would say, over in the UC, the 90 orange and green mile. So those are 3, along with the Digidele and a Crybaby. And that says, all being pumped into an 80s Fender Princeton, the one with the big gold reverb brick in it. My guitars are a Strat, a Fender Strat, and an ESP Les Paul. And he says, now, hey, don't believe the bad hype. It kicks the expletive out of the old Gibson I had. An Ibanez PGM because, and a cigar box a pal of mine made. So that's his little collection of music gear. And That gives us a nice view into his world. Like, what is it? If you just close your eyes for a second and you go, boom, Murdoch Swales, and you see a dude sitting in a room playing all that stuff, that's what you got. So thanks, man. Yeah.
I have owned an ESP Les Paul. They are really good guitars. They're a great guitar. Yeah. I just wanted to, want to let people play them. They're a good one. Yeah, it's a good guitar.
So we appreciate that. I have another big announcement. And Tony and Jared, I did have to let you in on it because I required a photo, which you so unbelievably begrudgingly provided.
It's never good enough for Tony, everybody, just so you know. Or I'm sorry.
Oh, thanks.
Never good enough for Todd. Never good enough for Todd. Never.
It isn't. You know why?
Nothing.
Because we only do the best here, dude. That's why.
You expect
So here's the deal, people. We have had so many requests to build up the YouTube. Originally, I put out about 60 episodes, and I had to do them all by hand because there wasn't really an automated way to do it, and I was retroactively uploading them, and it was an absolute nightmare, and I wanted to smash things. Well, recently I decided, you know what? I think I got an automated way to do this, so they are still currently queued. 185 episodes are currently being uploaded to YouTube. So that means that after you watch, Secret Life of Zach and Cody or whatever, you're quote unquote not watching on TV or whatever, on YouTube, you can queue this up and you can listen to it, in between those awesome pedal demos that you're seeking out, or swinging over to a Baltimore Sonic Research Institute channel, and then you go like, hey, cool. Now I can listen to the episode and then go right over to listening to some demos and watching some stuff. So people, be on the lookout because our entire library is going to be up on YouTube, and hopefully more things beyond that in the not so distant future. Okay. So there. Don't say I never did anything for you.
You never did anything for me.
Shut it.
You made us take 5,000 pictures for you to choose one.
No, and Dave, I would just want to illustrate something. I
30
said,
different
hey,
times.
Jared, give me a couple pictures, like an animated Jared, like having fun Jared. He sent me 4 pictures that were identical, looking like someone shortchanged him at the Chinese takeout.
I mean, that's probably what I'd send you to.
Yeah. It was super classic.
I just want to give everybody what, the real me.
Yeah. But that's not the real you.
That's not the real you, Jared.
You're an affable, lovable character, not a giant monolith.
That's only when I'm
around. You look like an Easter Island figure.
I'm like that when I'm around you guys. I'm the happy guy when I'm around you two.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I mean, you're depressed when you're not.
No, that's right. When I'm not around my two good buddies, yeah, it sucks. I want to have fun all the time. Come on.
Yeah, well, I do too. So let's get on with this. Hey, Dave, we're going to find out what's going on in our music world this week. We're going to start off with Tony, and then we're going to kick it over to you. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right, Tony Baloney, do it.
Okay, well, exactly a week ago today, a surgeon yanked my gallbladder from my body.
Which is a real bummer because you were in for tonsils.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing was, when he came in prior to the surgery, he says, okay, Tony, we're here to do your breast implants.
Yay!
I said, let's work on the gallbladder first. Yeah.
With the ones I have now.
Exactly. What are you saying? So I haven't been doing a whole heck of a lot other than I kind of rearranged my my guitar books upstairs. I kind of put all the Gibson stuff with Gibsons and the Fender stuff with Fenders.
Oh, nice.
I was just kind of bored. And so I was rearranging some of those things a little bit. But yeah, I was just kind of recuperating, taking it easy. But yesterday was my first day back at the shop. So I started back in and I've got quite the backlog, but I will get caught up. And if anybody out there is waiting and listening, I will get to it as soon as I can.
Perfect. So let's hear from our friend Dave. What's going on in your music world this week?
A lot of non-pedal stuff, like doing some guitar repair. I've been doing a lot of fretwork lately, just getting a bunch of guitars that I have leveled out and recrowned and playing back to tip-top shape. It's funny you guys mentioned the ESP Les Paul earlier. I've been playing like a bottom-of-the-barrel ESP baritone for like 8 years because it ends up beating out a lot of other stuff for sounding good. But it was never made very well, and I finally leveled the frets on it today, and now it plays great. So it's got another 10 years in it at least.
Oh, fantastic. Nice. By the way, what is your number one? What's your number one guitar?
I guess like in terms of getting the most play, it's between an LTD EC401B, like a matte black Les Paul looking baritone, or a Schecter Ultra 2, which is kind of their weird combination, like Firebird, but it has humbuckers and a stop tailpiece and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a weird looking body. But I was thinking about this earlier today. I've had so many like nice, fancy, expensive guitars in my life, but those are the guitars, the cheap ones, are the ones that end up on records and go on tour and everything gets written on them because I'm not afraid to hurt them, and then they get played more sincerely.
That's an interesting insight.
Yeah, it's like I have a handful of nice things, but they end up staying in cases because I don't want to like wail on them and then look down half an hour later and there's a huge pile of pick scrapes across some sort of flame top or something.
Yeah. That is a tricky one.
Especially when it's an expensive guitar, you don't want to like put that first ding on it. And this is just like, I feel like I can play something I don't care about way better.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you should sell one of those really expensive ones and get like 5 ones that you don't care about.
That's what I've been doing lately.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. All right. Jared, what's up?
So I've been, when I do rewinds in my shop, I typically need to build new bobbins for the really weird guitars pickups out there that, I don't know, that just weren't built very well in the first place. I kind of like to rebuild pickups to last and to sound better and to be more rigid, maybe user friendly, if you will, too. Because the more fragile they are, the more people, they drop it and then, oh no, I got to send it back now. Oh! So the laser machine I use is from China, and it's really, really crappy, and it's kind of a Frankenstein now. It's, it's my second one. I burnt the first one twice. And this one is just wore down. I've had to replace the laser tube twice and yada yada. So it's time to quit messing around with the $400 laser. And I'm looking at getting an American-made laser now. And they're, much, 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 much more expensive. So I'm really, really excited about that. Not only am I going to have a really good laser, but it's going to be lasting a long time. I can actually build product and sell it out of the laser because it's such a good laser, and I can mass produce. It's going to be so much larger, bigger, better, faster.
What lasers are you looking at?
Epilog,
yeah. That's I was going to recommend.
They're the Cadillac. Yep, they're the Cadillac of lasers. So I'm kind of looking at those. I wanted the 18. It's called a Mini 18, and they don't make them anymore. They're a little over 10 grand on sale right now, but they're not because they don't make it anymore. Yeah, they don't make those anymore. So I'm looking at $15K for a laser.
What?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep. Yeah, but you can make your money back on those selling, flat work and pickup work and stuff like, parts for pickups to other builders.
Yeah, the Epilog stuff is solid. I mean, and you're not going to be replacing things. I mean, the downside of lasers is you're always changing tubes. The more you use it, I mean, that's the price of cutting stuff.
I think the technology they use is where I would have to get it recharged.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah, so it's just a better technology altogether. Yeah, the China stuff is cheap, but it's China. It's garbage.
Wow.
So
interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much the biggest thing going on with me.
Cool. Yeah. Well, when you get your Epilog in, let me know, and you can start cutting templates for me.
Probably.
Yep, I know you can.
Yeah,
I've seen you do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you've seen the future, I can do it.
Well, it'll cut
How
a
about
template.
you, Todd?
It'll cut a template because we know it's burning money. Hey-o.
That's right. Oh, what about you, Todd?
Well, after our last episode, one of our last episodes, by this time you will have heard one in between, one of our last episodes was a home recording 101. And it just so happened that was one of the things that I then had a big band meeting about, hey, typically the way that we're writing music is not getting done because we're really struggling getting together. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to have to start doing this sort of the home recording way, at least to get a song started and handed off. So we're going to be passing it around until we can be meeting up again. And one of the things that I decided I wanted to get because of the spatial area that I've got working at home was I said, I want to find a clamp that I can hook up on my Supro that'll hold the mic in all the time so I don't have to, be monkeying around with a mic and stuff. So I did some research and I found one at Sweetwater called the Audix with an X Cab Grabber Guitar Amp Microphone Holder.
Well, that's pretty much to the point, isn't it?
It is. It's a good thing that name was available. So essentially, it's almost like it's. I'm trying to think of what it. I mean, it's just it looks like a tiny mic stand, except it's got an extension. So when you close the two pieces together, it hooks onto the side of your amp. So it doesn't go over the top, doesn't get in the way. It doesn't require being stuck on the bottom. There's a couple that will clamp onto the lip, or if you have a recessed grill on the Supro. I don't have a recessed grill, so I was like, well, I need to find something that's going to work. And then it has a bent arm that kind of goes around the front. So it's $49. I think it probably should be more along $29, but they're the only ones making it. So they can charge whatever they want.
You're paying for the name.
I'm paying for all those letters. That's exactly what I'm doing.
That's a lot of work to write.
I did work it out, and it's $4.29 per letter. So,
there you go.
Anyways, so yeah, I'm kind of excited to get that because then I can keep it. I can just have it on, like attached to the amp as the whole time I'm there at the house, and I can just run it right over and say, "Oh, cool! I got a good idea." Flip the stuff on, and I'm away, and off I go.
You sound lazy.
I sound efficient. Dave, do you think that's lazy or efficient?
I mean, that's the thing that's a pain about recording is all of the setup and managing all the infrastructure. So respect to you for actually trying to do a mic solution rather than just like an amp sim in the DAW just to get the idea down.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I still say you're lazy.
Well, anyways, so that was a lot of fun. So is this.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the floor.
Oh, hey, Todd.
Mm-hmm.
Are you there?
I am.
You know, we know that Tour Gear Designs make great cables, but can you tell me exactly what makes them so great?
I don't have enough time to tell you exactly what makes them great, but I can tell. I'll give you this. All right. The flexible cables and smart angled design of the connectors enable easy plugging and optimal signal chain for pedal board routing. Ooh. I know. I just thought of that right off the top of my head just now. You can twist it, you can turn it, you can stretch it, just like Jared. And it will withstand your unbridled enthusiasm and match your energy. Or if you're trying to take it apart to see what it's made of and are really curious about it, it'll withstand that too. We did it. I don't encourage doing that.
It withstood me.
It did. Tony gave it his all. That's how good they are.
I have that one. It still works.
Yeah, of course it does. While the twisted copper housing reduces any possible interference with our premium PVC mantle, which warrants a long-lasting experience. So that PVC mounting is important because think about like when you're trying to jam all those pedals, right next to each other. If you got those metal pancake jacks or something and they're touching, that can cause problems.
Ain't gonna happen.
It won't always, but it certainly can. And
no, I said it ain't gonna happen, so it ain't gonna happen.
Okay, all right. Hey, you know better. So, anyways, we highly recommend Tour Gear Designs for your patch cable needs. All kinds of different links. Killer product. And if you go to tourgeardesigns.com/discount/the guitar knobs, you're going to save 10% on your entire order.
That's a lot of forward slashes.
It is. I just went and ordered a whole bunch of them about 3 days ago.
Nice.
I did.
Did you use the discount code?
Of course I did. I used my own discount code. So anyways, make sure you check that out. Go to the website and then just do discount /the guitar knobs. And the cool thing is you don't have to enter any codes. It automatically adjusts the price. As soon as you get there, the price is adjusted.
That is smart.
It is. Yep. Pretty cool. So anyways, thank you, Tour Gear Designs, for the sponsorship of 4 on the Floor, which we're going to hear right now from Dave Gill.
Do it.
All right. The first one I got is from this guy in Belgium. It's called a Hex Revolver. And these are like micro loopers or basically sample manipulation pedals. And they do on the shorter side of making loops, but there's lots of ways you can manipulate them, either making really, really short CD skipping sounds or loops that every time they repeat, they sort of pitch down, but because they're so short, it just sounds like a cascading kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different models. He's been making them for probably 10 years. So there's at least like 4 or 5 different ones that have come out. I think the ones that he currently makes go up to like maybe 5 seconds on one. And then I think he makes a crazy expensive one that does like 2 minutes of recording. But the way I use them is to do really glitchy CD skipping, stuttering sounds. And the ones that are best for that as with every piece of gear ever, is the old ones that you can't get anymore.
Yeah.
But they're just like really fun pedals, and a lot of the sounds that they make have recently become accessible in other things that are more readily available, like the Red Panda Tensor does a lot of the similar stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, these ones are just, they sound really awesome. The features are great. The way they work is really great. And I'm completely addicted to them. I have like 4 of them.
Wow.
Yeah. They're like my favorite pedal in the world.
And the company is Hex?
Hex. It's Hexe.
Aha. Okay. Hexe.
Yeah.
And this one is called the Revolver. All right, everybody, make sure you go check that out. What's number 2?
The 2 is the one that I like. I think the ones he makes now are like the DX and maybe like a DXL. They're all cool. It's one of those typical boutique pedal companies where you have to like email the guy, and then you wait 6 months, and then all of a sudden he emails you and he's like, "Hey, one's ready," and it's super expensive, but they're really great pedals.
So that's your second one too?
No.
Oh no, I meant what's your next? One. Yeah, what's your next pedal in the 4 on the floor?
Yeah, that's just all 4 of them are that pedal.
All right, that's it.
Yeah, it's done. No, the second one is a Boss Super Shifter, the PS5, which does some pretty wild stuff. There's a trem arm mode that does like faking dive bombs, or in the opposite direction, dive ups, and if that's a thing. And then they also do this fake tremolo flutter sound. So I do a lot of really sort of cartoony, goofy sounds live in my band. And because I play baritones, it's hard to find ones that have trems, and then you're dealing with tuning stability issues. So I just fake everything with Boss PS5, and it's hilarious, and it's so much fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah, those are great. And then I don't know if this counts as a pedal, but the Echoplex Digital Pro, which has a floor pedal controller, it's the best looper ever made, and they haven't made them in like years and years and years. But nothing that's made now comes even close to what it's able to do, and it was designed in the 90s.
Interesting. So you're really screwing around with sound, man. Sounds like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just want everything to sound as harsh and bizarre as possible, mixed in with just sort of like regular heavy music playing, but just stuff that sounds, I think stuff that a lot of people are doing in post-processing and like studio tricks, I try to do for real in real time. And it's super fun.
Yeah. I get it. It's a little bit like Death by Audio. Whenever I think of that, I think of like, okay, what is going to make something potentially make your head explode while doing music, and just have you just so utterly confused and joyous at the same time is kind of like some of their stuff.
Yeah, their stuff is wild. Or like the playing of like Nick Reinhardt and Taramellos. He does some really wild sounds. Or it's like, it's what people thought in the 90s with Tom Morello and Rage Against the Machine. It's like, is that a guitar? They're like, yeah, but it's weird.
Yeah, exactly. And number 4.
Last in line, is the Red Panda Particle 2, which is just kind of like a catch-all for like weird granular delay stuff. The way that they've made that pedal work is, I feel like, the best of all of the companies that are trying to do that stuff right now. They have a really top-notch DSP platform, so the fidelity is incredible. The way their controls work when you turn them is just really satisfying. And it's not that it's predictable, but it's like the controls like have a really good taper. And a lot of times weird pedals just don't have, things only work at the extremes. And they have like everything in a full range of really musical stuff, just in this one little box that does just a handful of really cool and really weird things.
Interesting. That's cool. You mentioned the tensor before, the Red Panda tensor, and there are certain pedals that I have mentioned on the show that I say, aha, and then I say, yeah, nope, can't do it. I tried. I honestly, I tried at least 3 different times. I was like, nope, everybody's raving about this pedal. I'm doing something wrong. Yeah, I probably still am. But that one was just sort of over my head. I couldn't really get a grasp on it. And I came to realize I think there are just a certain number of pedals or types of pedals that people that have them, like, they get all the pedals like this, and they totally jive with it and they understand it. Sounds like you might be one of those people.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's actually, if you guys are familiar with the I Love Fuzz forum, there's a thread over there called Glitchypedia that I started like years ago, and it's basically just all of the pedals that do that glitchy micro looping stuff documented with like a description of them, and it's just ongoing conversation about all of those things, because it's a subset of pedals. And until a couple of years ago, basically until the tensor came out, the only way that you could get those sounds was with these weird things that are hard to get or super expensive or waitlist, or like some guy made 20 of them 10 years ago and you have to track one down, and now they sell on Reverb for $800.
Yeah.
And they are not accessible to regular people. Yeah. And then Red Panda put out a pedal that it's like, you can buy this all over the internet pretty much all the time. And now you can get access to these sounds that were like basically unobtainable until they put that pedal out.
They were made of unobtainium.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yep. I think I'm just going to have to just like rejoice in others who are able to really use those until I wrap my head around them. But I'm just happy that people are out there going, "My man, this is awesome! Look at what it does."
They're so much fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. I got to say, I am very surprised by your 4 on the floor, based on the pedals that you sent.
Yeah, they were all dirt pedals.
Dirt is an understatement. We'll get into that in just a second here. We need to say a big fat thank you to John Finnell, JONFINTEL. He runs Relay Recording, which I'm sitting at right now, or at least I was when you're hearing this. So John is a music producer, recording engineer, mastering engineer, all of those things. He's a lifelong guitar player and salivates over the guitar tone that you need, not the one that he wants. So if you have been struggling trying to get your own guitar tone, or if you are interested in having someone capture that, you should give him a jingle. JohnFintel.com, JONFINTEL, and runs Relay Recording here in Columbus. That is spelled phonetically. So anyways, much thanks to him for providing us a little space. I'm literally in a big back room, and it's rather hot in here. I'm not going to lie, but we'll sort that out. And then
it's a good thing Jared's not there.
Yeah.
You know what we'd be hearing.
Yeah. It's really hot in here. Which it is, in all fairness. But he burns, 8,000 calories a minute. So he's probably running a little bit hotter than most. So anyways, big thanks to that. And wow, we're going to start talking to Dave Gill of Baltimore Sonic Research Institute about the pedals that he makes. Now, if you have not yet gone over to see these things, go over to Instagram, because you don't have a proper .com website, do you?
Not yet. I need to do that and get out from under selling things on Reverb, because
the price went up a little bit, didn't they?
Yeah, that just doesn't make sense for me anymore.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, head on over to Instagram, and if you see something you like, I'm sure you can just DM Dave and he'll help you out, right?
Yeah, definitely. I do direct sale all the time.
Awesome. Well, I locked onto what you were doing because of how they looked without even hearing them. Okay, I'm flipping through. You can't always hear everything first. And we've talked about this many times on the show. What does the pedal look like versus what does it sound like? We've brought up the wine and beer sort of comparison of how do you buy beer? How do you buy wine? You can't always taste it. So what attracts you to it? And I really appreciated the aesthetic that you came up with. And I was like, this is pretty interesting. I'd like to talk to this chap. And then I started hearing him and I was like, hey, all right, let's discuss this. So we are going to find out about the pedals that he makes. He was kind enough to send us 3 pedals, and we did an unboxing. You can see that over on Instagram. I didn't do a demo of them. I've given all the reasons that I'm typically don't do demos. I'm starting to occasionally. So anyways, so we played these at home, and he sent us the FS, the FZZ, the SFG, and the GFZ. So there you go. Memorize that stuff, and you're all good. And they were a lot of fun. So let's talk about that, because one of the reasons that when I just mentioned, hey, I was really surprised by your 4 on the floor, is that these put out some pretty heavy stuff, folks. These are dirt pedals to the 9s. So you can really make your guitar sound like the angriest bulldozer you've ever heard.
I like that.
Yeah. But something that I appreciated on it, which I'll get to in a little bit, is one of the nice features he has on each one of these pedals. So, Dave, take us to the chrysalis at which you said there must be Baltimore Sonic Research Institute pedals.
So BSRI came about. I was in a band, and we didn't have a bass player, which is typical with my bands, but this band was supposed to have one, and they kept quitting. And we were in the studio, and before we were in the studio, but we were going to go in and track this record, and I wanted a big bass fuzz sound for a lot of the material. And I started looking around at the stuff online, and I didn't really like any of the stuff that I was seeing. So I was like, I'll just build something that will do this job and take it to the studio. And we were tracking bass, and my friend Kevin Bernstein, who does Developing Nations guitars here in Baltimore, also records all my band.
Developing Nations guitars?
Yeah, they're aluminum neck guitars. They're incredible.
Okay, I have to check those out. Developing Nations guitars. All right.
But he runs the studio, records a ton of heavy music, and we were tracking bass, and he turned around and he was like, yeah, I'm going to need one of those. So then I was like, I guess I'll start doing this. And because I had built pedals before, like 10 years ago, and it was a very different kind of clientele that I was seeking out. I was building, tone benders and buzz arounds and stuff, and going after that gear page money. And I ended up not liking it because I knew that half the pedals were just sitting on people's shelves, or all of the inquiries were like, hey, does this do Black Dog and stuff like that. and I wasn't like building things for people that play music like I play. And I got tired of dealing with it. And now I feel like I've just gone in a total opposite direction, where it's like, yeah, I make stuff that sounds really ugly and gnarly, and if you like it, great. And it tends to be the people that buy my pedals tend to be people playing heavy and extreme music, and that works out for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I could understand that. Plugging him in, I was like, well, it doesn't matter what I play, it's going to sound like that.
Yeah, some of them are definitely on the end of pedals that aren't super particular about what you're feeding them, and they're very not transparent. So they make a sound that'll be very square wave, or not dependent on what you're feeding it so much, but then you can sculpt what it puts out to a significant degree.
Yeah. No, I plugged a George Foreman grill into it, and it sounded just like my Les Paul. I mean, it was really remarkable.
Did it sizzle?
The sizzle note makes you know it's working.
So you've created this line of pedals that you're trying to solve your own problem, which is, I think that's a really interesting place to build from. And I don't know that everybody has had that opportunity. I know we've had a lot of builders on who have just started building pedals because they like pedals. But I have always thought it's very interesting when someone is like, I can't find the thing that I need, so I need to make the thing that I need. And then other people go, I need that too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to make it seem like I'm some sort of genius. Like, the first thing I built was basically a modified Boss Hyperfuzz, which is what became the FZZ. But and I think a lot of people's origin comes from like the first thing they built, and then they started building more stuff. But for me, that was like 15 or 17 years ago. So when I decided to start building things again, I kind of had all like the tools in my brain and in my shop knocking around to sort of like jump in the deep end right off the bat. But also somebody that's been really instrumental in this company, we don't work together, but he does all PCB design, is somebody you guys know, is John Snyder.
Hey-o,
yeah, John Snyder is like the Wizard of Oz of pedal builders. If you look in 50% of small builder pedals, there'll be a little thing that says layout by Electronic Audio Experiments.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he could stop building pedals altogether and just do that.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a sweet dude, and like I'll send him like a schematic and a bill of materials, and he'll like make little recommendations just about like infrastructure that I feel like makes my stuff so much more professional than the design I deliver him, and it's like I'm eternally grateful for that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And keep in mind, he's doing all that, at least up until recently, while he's getting a degree in like quantum physics, literally that kind of stuff. I mean, it's when we had him on the show the second time, he was describing what he was doing, and it was just mind bending. Like he was creating some machine that studies or that something about purple light, and it was like how that was going to maybe save the world. And he was serious about it, which I believe. I mean, if he says so, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that he's actually had a breakthrough and can actually travel through time, and that's why he knows so much about this electronic stuff?
It might be the case.
He's jumped into the future and come back.
Yeah, well, maybe maybe that tells us about the future if he came back. Boy. Anyways, well, that explains a lot, because I will say, when I cracked open the back of this, I was like, wow, this is a really well built pedal. And I don't mean from a layout standpoint. So credit does go to you for these things were really clean and they looked fantastic. And I could tell they were carefully built and thought of.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, we see a lot of pedal guts, and it's not always the case, but that doesn't mean somebody's doing it, bad or wrong. It's just some people really revel in that and some people don't. And as long as it still sounds good, I don't know that it matters.
Nope.
But I appreciate it. Anyways, I want to talk about you kind of have an aesthetic that is appealed to me. I guess the industrial nature of it just felt like a machine that was going to do something that required somebody to read to have an expertise to use it. And I don't mean that in an off-putting way, but sort of like super computers. It's like, wow, there's a lot of heavy duty equipment here, but it's actually really easy. How did you come up with that aesthetic?
I think it's kind of just a function of what the graphics are on. So, like, we were talking about laser cutters earlier, and up until recently, all of my faceplates were two-color laser cut acrylic. So they have that sort of like lab equipment panel kind of look to them.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is like pretty simple sans typefaces with indexes around the knobs. So it's like kind of just like looks technical, but it's not super fancy. I don't really care for like a really big, crazy UV printed full color graphic that so many companies do nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I just want it to look like professional and simple and relatively minimalist. But I also didn't want to deal with having to screen print enclosures or get enclosures printed. I just wanted to be able to work from raw enclosures and then put whatever faceplate on them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of just a result of like how everything works rather than like explicitly the design aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I used to do a lot of graphic design for work. And so for this, I mean, they're not like the paramount of like graphic design, but it's like they look exactly how I want them to look in terms of like, yeah, they've got knobs and they say words and everything looks just super tight and clean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then recently, so those were the laser cut acrylic ones. Recently, I've moved to using PCB faceplates, which is like on the SFG where the graphics are actually gold.
Yeah.
So they're gold plated copper for all the graphics. So they're way more durable. They're way more cheaper if we're talking about laser cutter upkeep, which I don't pay. I paid somebody else to do faceplates and they were like $10 a piece. It was insane.
The acrylic ones, you mean?
Yeah, the acrylic ones.
Yeah.
PCBs are way cheaper, way more durable, and they have far fewer dimensional accuracy issues.
Mm. Yeah, boy. So you probably have a really nice laser cutter.
I do not. I was getting my stuff done by a San Francisco company, and that's why it was really expensive. I feel like I couldn't justify even like the entry level of laser cutters, which is like still seem to be around $2,000 for something that's worthwhile.
Yeah.
And
yes.
I don't really have the space for it either.
Well, one thing that made me like, they almost have a brutalist kind of look to them. And just in the sense of it's not meant to be beautiful. It's meant to be functional, but in that it still looks kind of beautiful, you know? That's my way of thinking.
I totally feel you.
Yeah, you're not trying to be like, this is a doom pedal. You know, it's just like, no, this is going to make noise. So you had better pay attention to what these knobs are doing.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely say that like some of the aesthetic of my pedals comes from liking stuff, you know, maybe a decade ago from like guys like Ed Remble, that Tones are, who just had like a really elegant design sense to his pedals, or still does. Just very, very simple, straightforward, not a lot of, there's basically nothing extraneous.
One thing I alluded to this in the previous thing, and I know Tony was digging on this too, is the blend knob. I've brought this up in other interviews when we're playing around with pedals, and I think that is like, that's one of the knobs I get most excited about whenever I see a pedal, because it allows me to dial in as much of that, so I can get as much of that sound as I want, but it doesn't have to override everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if John Schneider could go back in time and put a blend knob on a Phase 90, I mean, that would be pretty smart. I'm just saying. But we know he can't. He can only go forward. So, John, Godspeed to you in the future. Come back with some more goodies for us. But I love the blend, and I know that's kind of a common thing with bass pedals. I don't see it as much in guitar pedals. Why do you think that is?
The SFG and the FCZ are definitely designed for bass. They also sound cool for guitar. So that's why I felt like they needed blends, because feel like a blend is somewhat requisite to be taken seriously as a bass pedal. But I feel like guitar players think that blends aren't for them because they think of them only as a clean blend, which sounds weird for guitar, but it's really just whatever's coming before that pedal then gets blended in. Or you can blend your amp's distortion with the pedal, or an overdrive beforehand with the pedal, without it being, automatically stacking. So you can get pretty complex layered tones. Like you could layer an overdrive with a really heavy fuzz, get a blend between them, and get both voices pretty distinctly in the mix. It doesn't just have to be like, clean tone only.
Yeah. It makes it sound like you're running like two different amps or two different pedal boards or something, or two different guitars at the same time.
Yeah.
Putting them at the end, like at the end of like everything, blending in an overdrive signal with like, delay and maybe even a heavy reverb, and then having this at the end. And I know technically, if you're using a fuzz, you should have it at the front, but who knows? Maybe that would sound fantastic.
Well, that's a big thing about these fuzz pedals is a lot of fuzz pedals will only behave if they're first in line. And if you're using passive pickups and if the temperature is right and you have good wiring in your house and all this stuff. And so these pedals don't care about any of that stuff. They'll behave the same at the front of your line, at the end of your line. If you're using a guitar with EMGs, just any of that stuff, they were designed to do what they do and not be picky. Like you don't have to work for them, they work for you. So you could totally run them at the end of the chain and then like mix in a tiny bit. It's like if you wanted like a blown speaker effect, you can do that with just like really mild stuff. Or if it's like, if you just want all of your reverb and delay decay to just get blown out at the end of a song or something, you can totally do that. And it's not going to like overly compress and be weird like a fuzz face or something would be.
Yeah. Ren Cuff does, with his fuzz pedals, he has a knob that you can get on it that is a blend, which is, I just think is so nice because I want some of the characteristics, like almost like the harmonic characteristics of a fuzz, the overtones, but I don't necessarily want to be like, all right, now I'm playing fuzz sound, everybody. I like having things in my sound that are not necessarily distinguishable, but add to the overall color of it. And I know Tony's just shaking his head, rolling his eyes, as he usually does. But that's the honest truth. And I'm not, this isn't a plug. I swear straight up, that is what John helped me do in the studio. So big, massive thanks to John Fennell for doing that. So I appreciate that. And instantly when I plugged in, I said, oh, here we go with the big heavies. But then I was like, wait a minute, I could really play around with this. And that fuzz, because these are specific sounding pedals. And I think that's probably based because I was playing a guitar out of what is really made for a bass. Is that fair to say?
So I would say that that's somewhat true, but like the core of the FCZ is basically a Univox super fuzz kind of circuit. Mm-hmm. And then it has an active EQ and a blend wrapped around it. So it's a lot more flexible than a classic super fuzz would be. But if you would play that with a guitar, you could totally play this with a guitar.
Right.
And it'll do, the active EQ in that one is kind of extreme because it's meant to be like as wild as possible. The SFG was designed as sort of like a bass distortion, but then, sort of like a no holds barred, like this is designed exclusively for bass. But then when it was done, I was like, let me see what it sounds like with guitar, which I can't believe I didn't do before. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like just a vintage distortion on steroids, kind of like in that Rat MXR Distortion 2 kind of vibe. Right. And it does a lot of tones for guitar as well. The blend on that one is a totally different configuration that I do now, which is that it's parallel processing. So instead of choosing, a mix control between fuzz and dry, you're basically just bringing up a separate dry signal that can get louder than unity. And then you can filter highs out of that if you don't want sort of like trebly clean in there and you just want low end or something like that.
That one has a ton of range to it. I really did appreciate that. Very cool. And so the SF stands for super fuzz?
No, the FZZ is just like, the names are so arbitrary. I just wanted a simple, just 3-letter name to just go around with a simple aesthetic. And then I realized I locked myself into this weird structure. But the SFG is sub-frequency grind. And then the GFZ is just glitch fuzz because it does all sorts of glitchy stuff.
Gotcha. All right. Okay. So those are your core offerings. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I'll do like a custom or a short little run of other kind of stuff every once in a while, but those are the real products that I make.
Mm. What is, when you're making these, when you're coming up with a new design, I don't know if you're working on anything new right now, but like, what are some of the challenges that you're encountering having already established a handful that are successful, that you've really honed everything in on? Now that you have those like established, is there something that you find as a challenge right now?
Yeah, just making something that is compelling and does something interesting that hasn't already been done, or actually being able to improve on the craft, because the standard for pedals nowadays is so high. Like, you have to make something really well at a price point, and there's not, 1,000 other versions of that thing on the market. 10 or 15 years ago, every company that came out just made a tube screamer, a super hard-on clone, and a rat. And they were like, okay, call it a day. We make 3 clones. Somehow they sell for $400 in a fancy painted box. And that's all they make. And then they just get tired of it after a while. Nowadays, I don't think anybody could get away with that at all. Or they certainly wouldn't be able to command those crazy, bubble prices that they used to get. So making something that is different or better than other things is really difficult. Like, I haven't designed anything in the last couple of months because nothing has come to me that it's like, this needs to be designed. And, is it something that I want that I don't think like either a friend of mine or, a colleague, like their version is just better than I could ever make. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing that's the challenge. I mean, actually making the thing and designing it is tough at times, but a lot of times it's just like, do some research, read some books, like read some articles about the theory behind these things, and then try a bunch of stuff. But like picking the thing to do is sometimes really difficult, especially if there's a barrier. So like all of my pedals are just analog distortion circuits that use a variety of different tricks to do what they do. But a lot of the things that I'm thinking about doing going forward are like, okay, I need to learn about, compression circuit, or I would need to get into some sort of DSP processing to do things I want to do. And that's a huge learning curve.
Being where you are right now, and you just described a challenge or a hurdle that you might be facing as you're thinking of new ways to expand your own pedal line, what would you say to your younger starting out self right now? What advice would you give yourself?
Oh, just don't bother with germanium anything.
Why not? Yeah. It's supposed to sound different.
I mean, it definitely sounds different. It sounds good. There are a lot of things that you can do that companies do now that make pedals behave. The problem is, when I was doing it, there were a couple established companies that were like, the internet had decided that those people were the best and everybody else was second class. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you feel like you're like you can't punch through and make the best thing, then it just becomes kind of a bummer. And that specific market of like vintage style germanium fuzz pedals depends really heavily on this category of, or this like weird space of like a little knowledge is a terrible thing, where people like have heard like there's got to be the right part number of transistor in there,
right,
when that really doesn't mean anything relative to the math that's going on inside. So, it's like you can make something that sounds super awesome, but if in the specs it doesn't say that it's the right kind of germanium transistor, nobody's going to buy it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I could have just skipped all of that and just been like, just don't waste your time with any of that, just start from the ground up and make something original, it would have saved us all a lot of time.
Interesting. That reminds me of some of the stuff that our friend at Hello Sailor does, which is you open up the back and you're like, is this a bomb?
Yeah.
Where on earth did you get a capacitor this size, or this shape,
That's a specific subgenre of pedals where it's just like everything is just culled from weird surplus places. And some of those guys, I've seen backplates of pedals where they list every single part that's in the pedal. Like it's like, that's the spec sheet. And it's like part by part where it's like, yeah, I use like high quality resistors and caps, but they're not so much a selling point. These people are like 1960s Mullard this and 1972 Panasonic this based on date codes. And it's like an incredibly curated experience.
Yeah.
And that stuff sells. Like
yes, it does. It's, I have to do the same thing and sell my product. Some people ask me all those questions. I have to come up with all the answers. Yeah. Tell them where I get this, what type of steel do I use with my iron parts in my pickup? Is it, 1080, is it 1013? What, is it pre-World War II steel?
Cork sniffing stuff.
Very deep, weird. Nobody else can think of it. Weird stuff.
A lot of the times, the things that people fixate on don't make enough of a difference to make it worth fixating.
No.
Amen.
It is a weird thing, though, because I think when you get into the kind of enthusiast realm, like I have a guitar that has a big giant orange drop in it, right? And I don't see it all the time, but I know it's there, and that's kind of cool. There's a cool, I like that. It's like, ooh, that's kind of cool in there, right? And when you start to, aside from the entry level things where you're like, okay, I got my one or two first guitars and I got these standard pedals, then it becomes, I want to get several hand painted pedals, or I want to get some that are like yours, where it's like, this is a very industrial looking kind of thing, or I want to get ones that when you open it up, you're like, wow, this is so incredibly well done. You can fixate on just about anything and go gonzo on that. And that's one of the cool things about, the guitar world that we're in, is there's room for everybody. The whole idea that there's, well, how many overdrives do you need? All of them. Yeah. All of them. That's how many.
Well, you need as many as you could possibly buy until you find one that says, I don't need any more. And that's like, I don't want to hate on the romance of gear and pursuing gear and buying stuff and learning things. It's just, I feel like a lot of the time people never spend enough time like really playing things and realizing that none of it matters, or they don't play for other people. They play exclusively in their home. And then the only thing you can do is fixate and obsess.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you can just go and play with other people, you're like, yeah, the steel in this bass plate of this pickup does not matter.
Yeah. It's the romance for the sake of romance, or the romance in lieu of the more meaningful experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally understand what you're saying. Well, man, it's been super fun learning about your super awesomely long name pedal company. And I really do encourage everybody to go give them a listen, especially if you're looking for something slightly different. Like, you might not think that you want a dirt pedal, that is designed for a bass, but might actually make your guitar sound like nobody else's. That is kind of cool. So check out this stuff. Go over to Baltimore Sonic Research Institute, and look for it on the web, and you'll find it. And go to Instagram, and you can talk directly to Dave, and he'll make you something. I'm pretty sure that's how it works, right?
That's right.
Actually, I have everything in stock all the time.
It's in a big warehouse.
I hate waiting for things or waiting for somebody to build something. I don't hate it. Sometimes it's fun. But, if you just want a pedal and it's like, okay, it's going to take me a month to build it. Like I try to avoid that, and I try to have, 15, 20 of everything on hand at all times so that when people want it, it ships out later that day and they get it in a couple days.
Awesome. That's good to know.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't backfire in the future, because if, enough people find out about you and all of a sudden you sell out, and then you do have that 2 to 3 week wait time, everybody else is going to say, hey, I thought it only took like instant to get my pedal.
Well, then I get to be one of those pedal builders that launches like 50 of something at 5:37 on Wednesday afternoon, right, and their website crashes, and then and then you just sell them all. So I would be happy to be in that situation.
Yeah.
That's what we all want. Yeah.
Well, we're going to mosey on over to a little area that is completely occupied by one person.
There's only room enough for one sheriff in town, and that is me. Would you rather?
Little pitchy, dog.
Coming from you, that's cool. All right. From our new honorary knob patron, Riley Cottrell from Sfumato Circuits.
Right. There you go.
Would you rather invent a groundbreaking circuit in today's day and age that shapes the...
Like a pedal?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
On a pedal that shapes the nature of music to come. So you're going to basically come up with a circuit that shapes the nature of music, like rock or grunge or whatever. You're going to invent another thing, another genre.
Another pedal.
Or, right, from making a pedal. Or be the inventor of a groundbreaking circuit that's already around, such as Klon, Centaur, or Big Muff, Deluxe Memory Man, etc., etc., etc. So would you rather, I see the question. You're going to either invent a pedal that's going to, change the nature of music, or do you want to be, in
the Hall of Fame of pedal?
Yeah, like
already.
Yeah, with the big names. Sure.
All right. That's a good one, especially for our friend Dave here. Tony, what about you?
I think that I think I'm going to jump in my time machine and go to the future and find out what that music genre is. And I'm going to invent an earth-shattering, groundbreaking pedal for the music of the future.
All right.
I'm going to hang out with John Snyder.
Yeah, exactly. Don't show him your time machine, though. That's disgusting.
Oh.
Hey-o. Jared, how about yourself?
Yeah, I would much rather be the invent a groundbreaking circuit in today's day and age that shapes the nature of the music to come. I would definitely want to be that guy.
Why?
Because I don't really care for the other stuff.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean,
he wants the little children of the future to say, "Oh, Grandpa Jared, he invented the
something
wonkulator."
Awesome.
The wonkulator. I love the wonkulator.
That's it. It's cattywampus.
Well, we know Dave can't take that because it's more than 3 letters. So
all made of all germanium,
Yes.
all germanium, everything.
Yeah.
And all cork sniffer type circuits.
Yes. All right, Dave, how about yourself?
I mean, I'd probably, when you think about those people that design that stuff, those people that designed that stuff back in the day, a lot of those guys or people, some of them weren't even guitar players. They were just designing a thing, and it was the only thing on the market, so it got picked up, and then that became the sound. And so I think it would just be like weird to be, you know, like Leo Fender didn't even play guitar, like that kind of thing, where you're like, yeah, he's the guy for this thing, designed the greatest electric guitar ever. The guy didn't even play guitar, and he was just sort of like, he nailed it, kind of. I mean, definitely for sure. I shouldn't say nailed it, kind of. But he,
I mean, you know, whatever, man.
He did okay.
yeah, he did all right.
Right.
But he, you know, it was just kind of like, I can't imagine trying to design something when you couldn't even use it yourself. And I feel like that's the case with a lot of electronic design from back in the day, where it'd just be like a company that sells radios decided to get into the fuzz pedal industry. So they just made a thing with this transistors that wouldn't work in their radio or something like that. I'd rather be somebody nowadays that sort of like, you know, makes a thing that is compelling now, because I don't know, just because it's a hard question.
It's a harder thing to do nowadays because there's so much competition.
Well, and there's so little, like, we're thinking of this in terms of like guitar equipment, but really the answer to that question is going to be something that makes creation accessible to people that don't have years to put into learning an instrument.
That's interesting take on it.
I believe the banjo will be the future instrument.
I got a banjo guitar.
So.
Yeah.
Interesting.
How about you, Todd?
Well, y'all just touched on something that, to me, makes it more worthwhile to chase, which is something in the future. Because I do think it is, at this stage, more difficult because, you know, as some of the pedals that were mentioned, you know, like, yeah, it'd be really cool if you say, I designed the original fuzz face, but there wasn't any other stuff around, and that's a relatively low bar.
And you'd probably be dead by now too, or just really old.
Yes. Well, there's that too. I don't want to be that. I want to be alive now. But no, I think the opportunity and challenge, and certainly the exposure now, is far greater. I mean, we're talking about people that design stuff that, you know, never got recognition for those things. And now, if that happened, I mean, you would definitely get the recognition. And I think a sense of accomplishment too. As Dave was talking about, it's like, it's really difficult to put your finger on something and you're like, wait, I don't know that this exists. Or if it does, it doesn't exist in the way that I need it to. And I think that is like incredibly rewarding to be able to do. So that's what I would do. That was a very good one. I like that. That was an excellent would you rather.
Nicely done. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for sending that in. If you are listening there and you're like, yeah, I could probably do a would you rather better, at least it's good.
So they talk like me then.
No, that's just my voice. That's the one that's my go-to for all those kind of things. Please send it to us. We'll read it. We'll discuss it. And you can yell at your steering wheel if you don't agree with it. Yeah. All right. We need to thank a couple people, and then we're going to be out skis. Okay?
Do it.
Tony Baloney?
Yes.
Do it.
So at this point of the show, Todd likes to invite me to thank a special group of people.
Yep.
That would be our executive producers. Yeah. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, what is an executive producer? And more importantly, how can I, as a mere mortal, become one? Here's what I want you to do. You go over to patreon.com the guitar knobs. You'll find a couple of different levels in which you can participate and become a patron of this very podcast, The Guitar Knobs. You know that?
Yep.
Are you familiar with this podcast?
I am.
Nice. Each level comes with a lot of different thank you gifts, things like barefoot buttons and keychains and
T-shirts.
stickers and T-shirts and giveaways and oh my goodness, all kinds of great stuff.
Yep.
But the top of the heap, as we like to say, would be the executive producer. And so in addition to all that great stuff, the swag and the fun and the warm, fuzzy feeling in your heart that you get, there's one more thing that happens.
Yep.
And Jared, what is that?
You get to have your name read on the thing by Tony Baloney.
Your name read on the thing. And that's what I'm going to do right now. So a special thanks to these executive producers: Tom Barazin, Martin Cliff, John Daly, Chris Carney, Darren Gregory, Doug Christ, Michael Van Zant, Ken Sayers, Brian Robison, Michael Senchuk, Stefan Lamb, Johnny Knowles, Anthony Lathrop, John Anglin, Tyler Bray, Brad Partridge, Chris Heidel, John Esterly, Doug Gann, Justin Jones, Brett Alexander, James White, Matt Hart, Liam Martin, James Pennington, Richard Kendall, Levi Main, and hey, let's welcome back a good friend of ours, Mr. Tig Harmon.
All right.
Hey, welcome back.
Tig.
Welcome back,
Woo-hoo.
Tig.
Glad you're home.
Yes, indeedy. But wait.
Who's standing on top of that heap?
There are the Grand Poobahs.
Yeah,
they're familiar with this group.
Have orange hats.
They wear a very special fez that sets them apart, I should say, from all of the other executive producers.
That's right.
So we'd like to thank this special group of Grand Poobahs. That's Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, David Kaminga, Cody Lane, Cody Foster, Sean S. Tommy Manasco, Mark Garton, Christopher Marshall, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys, and wait, what?
Huh?
2 new Grand Poobahs.
Who are they, old buddy?
That would be Zach Melton. Zach, a tip of the old fez to you. And Mr. Tim Novak, who upgraded from just a regular executive producer. He is now, okay. Yeah, absolutely. He is now a Grand Poobah.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you so very much.
Fantastic list. Thank you all so very much for contributing to our show. We certainly do. Much obliged. And we'll have some, for all the new people, we got some great awards coming out to you. I promise.
That's right. Yep.
Dave Gill, tell people where they can get your stuff.
At BSRI Audio on Instagram. Hit me up. I have stuff listed on Reverb as well. Glad to hear from you.
Awesome. Make sure you people do that. He makes some mighty fine equipment for your guitar sounds. Tony Baloney, how about yourself?
Oh, just head over to pickguardian.com and you can check out some of the stuff that I have available for sale, kind of, order online. But, by and large, most of what I do is custom work. So get a hold of me. Let me know what you need, what you're thinking in terms of color and pickup layout and controls and all that stuff. And I will make something very, very special just for you. That's true. It's true. Jared?
Yes. If you're looking for guitar pickups, go to brandonwoundpickups.com and check out the different pickups that I do. I do new pickups that look old. And I have a new product now.
What's that?
I have M69 rings. They're called 1959 clone M69 rings. They are the correct shade of cream. They are butyrate. They have all the right tooling marks, and they actually blacklight. So that means they glow in the blacklight. They're exactly like originals. You can't really tell the difference.
Why is that Why is that a thing, Jared?
All that is important for the, I don't want to say cork sniffer, that's a little harsh, for the avid 59 era Les Paul collectors that want to make their custom shop or R8, R9, whatever 59 Les Pauls exactly how it came from the factory at Gibson.
There you go.
So that's what I do, man. I appease my customers, and many of them are them.
Yep. And if you just want some better sounding pickups that make your tone sound fantastic, hit them up.
Thank you, Todd.
You are welcome, sir. You can send me an email, todd@theguitarknobs.com, or you can shoot me a DM on Instagram. And let us know what you're up to. Let us know what you like about the show. Let us know. Give us a would you rather. We'll read it. And we really do appreciate everybody. And also make sure if you want to start listening on YouTube, get on over there and make sure you hit the subscribe button, okay? Hit subscribe on YouTube. Hit subscribe on our Instagram, for Pete's sakes. I know how many people listen, and doggone it, you're not hitting that button, and you're not going to get the stuff in your feed right away. If you do, and you follow us, then you'll get the stuff in the feed, like when we give stuff away, or when we have 10% off on these awesome patch cables. So, all right, everybody. Dave Gill, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We had a great time with you.
Thanks.
You are welcome. Everybody else, have a fantastic guitar week, and subscribe!
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Now I feel like an idiot. Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page, and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.